If you're looking to make the move to South Africa, this video is for you. I have before us today the one stop shop that has the answers to your immigration questions, your how to purchase a home questions, the can I form a business question, taxes, legacy, and things you didn't even consider. In this video, during this conversation, I know that questions will be answered for you. Now, as the Jones family, you may or may not know, we did make the move to Johannesburg, South Africa, in which we loved it. And in conversing and speaking with other people that did it as well, they ran into a couple of hiccups and bumps along the way. And so here we are as a resource to you to be able to allow for you not to go through what others went through, however, have the solutions that you need to succeed. And so today we have none other than my sister in Christ, a young lady that I have grown to have conversations with that I know is going to be phenomenal today. None other than you, Linda. Eulenda, how you doing today, ma'am?
I am amazing. Thank you so much, Ricky, for having me
Yeah.
here.
hmm I love it. I love it and like it. And so we're gonna jump into it because I don't want to take up much of you all's time and her time as well. And so if you can answer these three questions to kick things off, who are you? Where are you from? And why did you get into the profession that you find yourself in?
Perfect. Yeah. So my name is Eulenda Cousins, as you mentioned,
Mm,
and I grew up. So I'm a South African woman. I grew up in the outskirts of Pretoria, in a
mm,
small town called Soshanguve, and yeah, that's where I spent 21 years of my life before moving to Cape Town. I own a law firm in South Africa called Cousins Attorneys, and we basically provide efficiencies for international clients looking to do business or buy real estate in South Africa because we've identified the gap
mhm,
predominantly in our country when people are assisting, so legal experts assisting parties to buy real estate. The focus is always on the seller because the seller is
mm,
the one with the property you want to buy. The seller owns it on the title deed, and the seller gives the instruction to the attorney to, transfer it to the buyer. So what
mm,
we realized is that the buyer does not have that protection that sellers automatically have by virtue of how the law is set up and how the transaction is set up. So we decided we are going to fill that gap and protect buyers' interests when they're buying property, when they're setting up a business, when they want to move here. And so that's why we provide those efficiencies under LC attorneys. And then I also own Skyline Attorney Realtors, which is
mm,
a real estate agency that specializes in helping you buy property with representation, not only by attorney realtors, but actually realtors that will help you with the legalese of signing
mm.
to purchase land in a jurisdiction that you are not familiar with. So that is essentially who I am and what I do. I love what I do. I love protecting buyers' interests. And yeah, I think my team also feels the same because each and every day we're talking about how we can help the next person avoid the costly mistakes of buying property in South Africa.
I love that. That was beautiful. That was like the perfect elevator speech if there was one that was asked of an individual. And you hit a lot of different parts that we'll even speak through and vet out because knowing what it's like on this side, right? This side being one that's maybe making the move from the States over to South Africa, the different checkpoints that we have along the way. And so if I could just go through that timeline and those thought processes, I believe it'd be useful. And so the first one that you reached and or talked about was the fact that you help with immigration services. So with us, we were a family of four, my wife and I and two kids, and we wanted to make the move. But looking at the website of SA Affairs and all, we didn't really see anything that spoke or stuck out to us as far as visas that we can make the move immediately. And so we had to make the call to immigration services. And so
Mhm.
knowing that there are other families like myself that may be wondering like what should they
Mhm.
do if they should go through the attorney process as far as getting their visas, what would you say to them and what benefits would you say as well that they would get by using your services?
Absolutely, Ricky. I think it's very important when you are making a move as big as, leaving your home country to go to another country, to do that with support, and not just any kind of support, but support from legal experts. And I'll give you an example with the clients that we're currently assisting now. So we
Mm-hmm.
have clients applying for different types of visas. And sometimes, because of the excitement of moving to a new country, they
Yeah.
are making quite a number of decisions that they are not aware one affects the other. We have this one client who's busy applying for financial independence visa. At the same time, she was actually considering a retirement visa, and she came to us and also spoke about starting a business. Now, if you know what the laws are in South Africa, certain visas come with certain restrictions. So if you are
Yes.
saying you want to be on a retirement visa, it does have its own terms and conditions. It allows you to do certain things, doesn't allow you to do certain things. If you are somebody that wants to apply for financial independence and you think, okay, I do have the 12 million rands, limit that they want, you may, find yourself in a situation where you're making certain decisions transaction wise. And I'll give you another example. If the VFS wants you to produce certain proof that you qualify for the specific visa, you go ahead, you print your bank statements to show that you have the 12 million, and then you
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and you buy property. Now, by the time the property is transferred, your financial position has changed. And if you've
Ah.
submitted your documents, that's a problem because those documents are no longer eligible. Now, if you're doing it on your own, you're winging it, you have no way of gauging if there is a change in my financial position. And it might not necessarily mean that you don't qualify, but what it means is that maybe you need to use different proof, for source of funds to back up your application, because now we need a title for this new property that you are receiving instead of the bank statement, because it no longer can be valid. So there are a number of things. And also, some clients don't know what specific visa is suitable for them until we speak to them and answer all the questions, and questions that a legal professional can actually deal with and attend to. So yeah, it's very important, I think, to not DIY certain things that have such huge financial implications. And also,
Mm-hmm.
the excitement of moving to another country should not be affected by, something that you try to do yourself and then you end up messing it up, and it causes an even bigger problem. So I think the benefit of dealing with attorneys, so we work with immigration attorneys. If you are applying for a visa, we will definitely have a consultation with an attorney that specializes in immigration law. And the reason that gives you protection is that in South Africa, almost anyone can say, I can help you apply for a visa, even when they are not immigration lawyers. The problem with that is, and if you have done that and you've succeeded, that's good, but this is not
Mm-hmm.
something you want to gamble with. Firstly, because there is no guarantee when you are applying for a visa that you are going to get it, but there are financial implications, and also time is money, the time that you
Mm-hmm.
are losing waiting for a visa. So sometimes you don't even know, maybe you want to apply for a financial independence visa. Like we have a number of clients who've applied for that type of visa, but when we talk to them and we say, when do you want to come here, when do you want to use this visa, they like in 4 months time. And that type of visa does not take 4 months to come out. It can
Right.
take 18 months or more. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you want to come in 4 months time, then we'll tell you maybe you are better positioned applying for a retirement visa or applying for another type of short-term visa, so that it can give you the entry into the country. And then while you have it, there's certain visas that while you've received it, you can apply for another type. So we put you in contact with our immigration lawyers in a form of a consultation, so that they can answer your questions and they can tell you about the restrictions. And I think that's where the benefit is, which you don't get in most places. And another benefit of dealing with us is, I know of clients in property, because they were buying property, but they had already applied for visa elsewhere. And I'm sure there are many service providers that do an excellent job, but I'm going to talk about the people that I've dealt with personally. So they put in an application, and they pay the money and everything, and they hear nothing from the
Mm-hmm.
people helping them, and they try to follow up. They send emails after emails, and nothing comes up. And that is absolutely not how we operate. And we believe that because this is such a big decision that somebody, will be making, coming
Mm-hmm.
to a land where they know nothing about, how things work, it's important to hold their hand. Even if
Yeah.
the this is taking long to process the application, we will send the regular updates to say we've checked on the system, depending on where you chose to apply, because also the requirements are different in terms of even how you need to, conduct certain exams, medical exams. If you're applying
Mm-hmm.
from the you need to do it a certain way. If you're applying from South Africa, it needs to be done a certain way. And you will know that when you are dealing with people who are legal experts, in addition to knowing about immigration and applying for that particular visa. And also, I think the consultation is important. Some people will ask you, what type of visa do you want? And then they'll give you that. They'll help you apply for that. But actually, what should happen is, what type of visa do you think you qualify for, and then hear what, find out about your facts, your situation, and then say, yes, it sounds like that visa is what you want to apply for, but actually this is what you would most likely qualify for. That's
Mm-hmm.
what you, when you are dealing with somebody that's able to apply their mind and use judgment and analyze your facts and give you an outcome, or rather interpretation that will help you, and not just take what you think you want or what you think you're going to qualify for. So I think, yeah, that is what is the benefit of dealing with a team like ours. We are really big on holding our clients' hand, and that's why we even specialize. We do not do a lot of things. We do not do litigation. We do not go to court to fight clients' legal battles, because we've chosen to specialize in being proactive about preventing going to court. And that's why we
Mm.
to do that. So we heavily focused on due diligence in everything we do. When you are buying property, we preach due diligence. When you're applying for
Mm-hmm.
a visa, we preach due diligence. We'll even help you regulate at what point you need to certify certain documents, because some people are not told, that these documents are going to expire, and you pay a notary
Mm.
a lot of money to certify and notarize documents, and then the people helping you take those documents, and later they say, oh, sorry, it expired, you need to certify or notarize again. So just helping you say, to say, let's see what date we get, and then we'll tell you, we create a checklist to say, this is what you must do first, this is what comes next, and so forth. And we do
Mm.
that because we've seen the consequences of not doing that. So yeah.
I love that. And even to your case of the various types of visas that you can get, I'm gonna ask you this and then I'm gonna make a statement. But the question is, how do people get retirement visas? Because that's often the ones that people ask me about. And I will
Yeah.
say that one of the benefits that and reasons why we chose to go with the attorney to help us to make the move is we knew one, that the attorneys there in SA had the experience of helping other
Mhm.
people to make the move.
Yeah.
And so if there were things that we didn't know, things that we didn't understand, we knew we were one email away or one
Yeah.
call away to be able to
Yeah.
get the solutions that we were looking for. But then as well, there was that protection that was necessary once we made the move, that if
Yeah.
something came up, which in the case of us, we actually transferred our kids' school from one school to another, and then making the
Mm.
call to the attorney like, hey, will this affect their visa? Because they had student visas, and the way the
Mhm.
visa was set up, it didn't, because the name of the school wasn't stamped on the visa. And so there was
Mhm.
that benefit that we had
Yeah.
as well, going through the attorneys as opposed to doing it ourselves, because who knows what we would have done if we tried to do it ourselves. However,
Yeah.
having it done the proper way or the legal way with the proper assistance, we were able to navigate everything smoothly, make transitions accordingly, and we didn't have any hiccups along the way. So, boom,
Yeah.
that's our reason why. That's why we preach it and share it with
Yeah.
others to do the same, just for the peace of mind, ultimately,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And so, for retirement visas, the thought is that maybe you have to be in the country for 7 years, 5 years, or some unknown amount of time. But if you were to make it plain as you would anybody that's calling in, what would you share with them if they are
Mhm.
looking to make a retire or do a retirement visa or a whole dual citizenship scenario? because people are trying to leave the USA at record numbers. But nonetheless, like, what would you say to those type people?
Yeah, no, I would definitely. What I'm going to cover here is not comprehensive because we would cover everything in a consultation. But a
Yes.
retirement is something that is attainable by anyone. And I think there is a confusion that comes about where, some people are like, no, but I haven't reached 60 yet. Do I qualify?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Even if you are 37, you can apply for a retirement visa. No, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to have been here for 7 years before you apply.
Mm-hmm.
We do have some clients that are applying for the same type of visa, and they have not been here for 7 years. So it does have its restrictions. And we've actually received some questions from clients that were applying for same because they were applying for a retirement visa while also registering a company. And they were asking, because registering this company, we were helping them to, because when we are helping clients with buyer's due diligence for property, we actually, part of our service, we register a company for you where you put in your property because, that's part of the structuring process to avoid paying too much tax and just basically for estate planning. And they were asking questions such as, is it going to affect my retirement visa that the fact that I'm applying, I'm buying this property in the name of my company? And the law
Mm-hmm.
is silent on those things. Of course, if you are saying I'm retiring, it means you're not going to get a retirement visa and then come in the country and look for a job, because
Mm-hmm.
it defeats the whole purpose. So there are restrictions, but the law is not, restricting you, or there's nothing that we know of legally. And that is where the benefit of dealing with lawyers, comes
Mm-hmm.
to play. We regularly read and into legal developments, and whenever anything changes, we are the first people to know, and we can then
Mm-hmm.
interpret what is happening to our clients. But there's nothing, as long as you have that minimum amount that they require. The government just wants to ensure that people that are coming in the country with this type of, seeking this type of visa can take care of themselves. And the
Mm-hmm.
limit, monthly, the amount is 37,000, that you should be able to, show that I have this income. Maybe my pension is paying, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, set up. And there are certain, there's a list that will give you to say, this is what you can provide as proof of this, money that's coming into your account. And yeah, if you meet that requirement, generally we'll ask you questions to rule out, and make sure that you do not want to do other things that might not be permissible under that type of visa. But yeah, I think it's a type of visa that anyone who can meet that threshold in terms of amount, can absolutely apply for.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that because I mean, you answered a lot of the questions. I believe one more question that I would ask in that
Mhm.
vein or in that lane is how long does that visa last? Is it unlimited or is there a endpoint that you have to reapply or,
Yeah.
get that visa again for the next amount of time?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not unlimited. Unfortunately, it's not
Thank
like
you.
permanent residence.
Yes, yes,
It's not like
yes.
permanent residence that can be
Mm-hmm.
received in for different on different grounds. This type of visa, and I'm a property lawyer, so I have to speak under correction, but about 4 years it would last. And then you have to obviously apply for another type of visa. So some clients, they will apply for
Mm-hmm.
a short-term visa, and then while they have that and they're in the country and it's about to lapse, then they start to apply for a longer term type of visa, like a financial independence one. But then you would need to actually be financially independent to prove that
Mm.
12 rand. Alternatively, there are other grounds which we would explore in the consultation to say, okay, for this long-term visa, this is what you would need to have. But yeah, this is a short-term visa. It doesn't last forever. Absolutely
I
not.
like it. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it. And she's referencing consultation of things that you can get. There'll be a link in the description that you'll be able to get a consultation and go all through it. But we'll just keep going in this conversation because you spoke of even starting businesses while
Mhm.
coming over and just in general, right? But then you also linked it to a structure in which to help protect you with home buying and taxes and things like that. So we'll save that side of it. But even just starting a business in SA, is that something that somebody can do easily or is it difficult? And is it also something that you can link to a visa? And I ask that because I know
Mm,
of three families in general that have businesses in the States, and they're thinking, oh, they can do it in SA, and
yeah.
wanted to link that with a visa. And so, what would you say to somebody like that?
I get very excited when you talk about business and you talk about property because I'm a
Okay.
business and property lawyer. Now, you see,
Yes.
I will refer you to my colleagues who handle immigration. I will tell you it's absolutely possible to start a
Yes.
business in South Africa as an American citizen or, as a
Mm,
citizen of any other country outside South Africa. We help our clients with that. We help them register their businesses. Even when you have a business in the States, an LLC, we can help you get that same business registered here. So you use the same name, it's the same business, except we
mm-hmm,
want to register it as an external company so that it can get recognized. The South African Reserve Bank comes into play if you're going to decide, do you want to have it as a do you want to have the setup as a the company in South Africa as a subsidiary, or do you want a different structure? But the simplest way to do it would be to just register a South African company, have that business, open a bank account that is separate so that, you can plan better for tax purposes. We have the most, it's non-strict laws when it
okay.
comes to for businesses.
Mm,
And that is because the government is trying to encourage entrepreneurship and, because it stimulates economic growth.
mm-hmm,
So anyone that starts a business is actually supported quite well in South Africa, in a sense that they will not place restrictions on you to open your company. Even when you
mm,
are not South African, even when you are not planning to move here, you can literally open a location independent business and have it registered here where you are in the States, your business operates here. Most of our clients who buy properties don't live here. They are outside the
mm-hmm,
country. Some are in Germany, America, Switzerland, and they open a business where they put their property because the property generates income, and so
mm-hmm,
when you pay income in South Africa, you pay income tax. So it's not difficult to do. We do that on a daily basis for our clients
mm-hmm,
setting up businesses in South Africa. We also, in the consultation, will take them through the process. What do you need? Send them an email requesting all the documents. Also, once again, heavy on holding their hand to do everything on their behalf, because sometimes people want to start something, but because it's so overwhelming, even the
mm-hmm,
process of getting things set up, ends up, hindering you. So what we
mm-hmm,
do is it's a done for you type of service that we offer, where we give you everything that you need to provide, and then we get it registered, and then we rope in a tax consultant for you to learn about the taxes, and then we will also tell you what you can expect in terms of your annual returns for compliance with SARS and the CIPC. And it's quite doable, actually, because most people who have done it don't even live in the country. And I think there are some misconceptions about starting a business. When people hear, oh, registering a company, they think, oh, now I have to pay rent for my office. No, most
mm-hmm,
businesses don't even own an office. You don't need
mm-hmm,
to. There's virtual offices. You can have an address that's registered under your company, but you don't have to actually be physically having an office. So you cut
mm.
those expenses and you just focus on generating income through your business. So it's quite easy to do that, even to set up a bank account. And even the fees for setting up a bank account are so ridiculously low that, it doesn't make sense to do it and not have a non-resident bank account. We've recently done that for our client who bought property. Now his business bank account is set up. The property is being transferred into this company that we created for him. And everything happened while he's in the States. The only thing that he had to ask me about was, well, Eulenda, where is my card going to be delivered? Can I have them send it to your office? And I said, no, no, no.
Mm,
Uh, Let them send it to you because this is a bank
okay.
account. And
Mm,
you can use DHL to courier it to you, or you can
mhm.
get it from the bank, from your banker when you come to South Africa. But yeah, so much is possible, and not a lot of people know how easy it is to actually get it done.
That is true. And I will say, even when we were looking at that as a possible way, I believe for the business visa at that time was
Yeah.
like you had to have a certain amount of employees and It
Oh
was
yes.
two other things, and I was like, "Oh snap! Like I don't employees, I don't want to do all that." So
Yeah.
that is what discouraged us from doing it that way. But
You
sounds like
see,
you have the solutions.
no, you see, what you heard about is a business visa. So there is a difference between wanting to apply for a business visa, which has its own requirements. You need to
Mm-hmm.
invest 5 million, but there are some
Mm-hmm.
exceptions. But you need to invest 5 million in a business that is existing or a new one, and it has to be a qualifying business. So you can set
Mm-hmm.
up your own new business as long as you can prove that, there's gonna be this 5 million invested. But I spoke to you, the first one I spoke to you about doesn't even
Mm-hmm.
require 5 million, doesn't even, you don't even need to put a dime in that bank account. Of course, maybe
Mm-hmm.
8 rents to have the bank fee set up. And I would advise that if you're coming here, you're opening a business, obviously have a plan. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference between applying for a business visa and actually setting up a business where it's not for the purpose of getting a business visa.
Okay.
You will definitely want to do it the business visa route if you have the 5 million rands. But if you
Okay.
don't, still, maybe you have 2 million and you want to buy property that's going to generate income, and you want to put it in a structure that's going to help you to be tax efficient and an estate planning friendly structure like we discussed in our previous live. And
Mm-hmm.
so you don't need to have 5 million. You just buy your property that's 1,800,000, and you put it in. We set up the company for you. You put it in there, and you get set up basically, and then your company then earns income through the property. It goes into your bank account, your South African bank account, which is actually linked to your South African company. So that
Mm-hmm.
is explained first. So that basically means anyone can have a business registered, but with a
Mm-hmm.
business visa, then you are looking at those extra requirements and what the business
Mm-hmm.
needs to qualify for that type of visa, which is a different one. So there's, yeah, those two scenarios when it comes to business. You
I
can just
love
open
that.
a business, or you can open a business and apply for a business visa.
That's good. That's good because ultimately, what I'm understanding is that anybody ultimately can start a business in SA if they check the boxes that are necessary, just as it is in the States. Like anybody can start a business if you do the certain necessary things, and boom, you're up and running successfully.
Yeah.
And so that's good. And now to even tie into the real estate side of things, which I know you love as well, this is going to be fun because a lot of people have these type of questions. And once they make the move, once they get their visa, boom, they're excited and
Mhm.
looking to make the move, or they've already found somewhere where they want to live and they go
Yeah.
through that process, or they're applying for the visa and they're searching. That was us. Where we're going to live, where we're going to be. We go to visit, we lay out the land, we check the different boxes of, oh, okay, I see Rosebank, I see Stanton, I see Waterfall, I go to Blue Valley, the different spots, right? That a lot of people go to look for homes and whatnot.
Mhm.
And then in the search, we realized that hold on, like, where's my person that helps me to buy this home? Because it seems like everywhere you go, there's a realtor there for the home for the
Mhm.
seller, but
Yep.
I don't have anybody for me as the buyer. So
Mhm.
knowing that that's what makes you all special and unique as well on the real estate side, what services do you all provide to help people like us that are
Mhm.
used to having support on both sides? Because here in the
Yeah.
States, you buy real estate, there's a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. They have
Mhm.
the conversations, and the
Yeah.
buyer and the sellers on the back end negotiating, saying prices or whatever, whatnot. It's not
Mhm.
until you sign the papers that you actually are involved.
Yeah.
And SA, it's a
It-
little different. So if you can
It's very
explain,
different, very
yes,
lonely for the buyer.
yes, if you can explain that process in general, just to help us all to have the knowledge of the SA way, but then as
Mhm.
well, what do you all provide as a solution for people like us that are coming over to make the move and to purchase or invest in a home, as you put it, which I love.
Absolutely. So, Ricky, it's very lonely for the buyer in South Africa when you are buying
Mm-hmm.
property, because all the realtors are representing the seller. And
Mm-hmm.
I think before you met me, you had never seen a realtor speaking about the buyer's interests. That
Right.
ought to be protected. And we are the first and only real estate agents,
Mm,
first of all, that has attorney realtors, meaning you are dealing with property attorneys who've studied property law. We are the ones who actually are responsible for drafting property contracts for the purchase
wow.
of land. And so
Mm,
there's no one who understands it more than a property attorney, because the
mhm,
property attorney is an attorney who is more than qualified to be an attorney. So you have to write certain board exams so that you can
mm,
become a specialist in property. So
mm,
people need to be very careful and mindful when they're dealing with people who might not necessarily be specialists. So if you're attorney, you see, I'm comfortable to tell you, Ricky, I'm not an immigration lawyer. I'm a
mhm,
property and business lawyer. And
mhm,
with that, you can ask me anything and I will tell you. And if you say immigration, I work with immigration attorneys that can also
mhm,
help. So then you have the confidence that this person knows what they're talking about. This is what they're practicing, and this is what they qualified for. So
yeah.
when the general way of doing things here is that the seller is listing their property through the listing agent, and those
Mhm,
agents are the ones whose faces appear on the listings that, for properties that you like. So you're contacting them. Do
mhm.
not get it twisted. They are representing the seller. Even when they're
Okay.
nice to you, they are representing the seller. And if things go south, they are leaning towards the side of the seller. And this is
Mm,
how I started, and this movement of buyers ought to be protected. And I started the Prestige framework. I started
mm,
it because I saw a lot of people approaching our firm. Because I'm a property lawyer, I share a lot of information. If you follow me on Instagram and YouTube and anywhere I am on social media, you'll see that I talk heavily about property business structure and tax. And so when I identified that actually buyers are not protected, it was because people kept on coming to our firm saying, "Hey, Eulenda, the first was this German couple. They were retiring
mm,
property in Valdavia Estate. It's a beautiful estate here in the Western Cape, very lucrative. They bought for over 7 million, and they were
mm,
told by the person that was assisting them, don't worry about transfer duty. That's a type of tax. You're not going to pay that. You're going to pay only the purchase price because the seller is a vet vendor. So it's a technical thing, I know, but when a seller is a vet vendor, it means they are registered for vet with the tax man, which means that you don't have to worry about tax because it's included in the
mm.
purchase price. So on that basis, they then made the offer, signed everything, paid the deposit. And that's what happens when you are buying property. And then later the lawyer contacts you and says, okay, we've prepared the documents. Here is
Okay.
the invoice, make payment. And they got a shock of their life when they saw the statement, which, had an amount over 800,000. So almost a million
Mm,
extra because of
hmm,
tax, because of misinformation from the person. Unfortunately, it was a realtor who was helping them. And I don't know why, but they gave them the wrong information, even sent them a screenshot showing zero for tax. The long and short of it is they had to pay tax. It's a legal obligation. And you, as the
wow.
have to pay it because you're acquiring property. And if you don't pay it, you lose the money you've already paid. Because remember, you pay the deposit first before
Mhm,
a lot of the other things. So they say secure the deposit, and some lawyers will send you the statement for fees and tax later after you've already secured the
mm,
deposit. And so they found out the hard way after they had already paid. And if they backed out of the deal, they were going to lose their deposit. And
mm,
so where I saw, I mean, it wasn't the only story. Some people would sign the contract being happy that they're buying this property. And then because the realtor told them, oh, this is the only fee you're going to pay. And then when it's time to take ownership of the property, the lawyer sends invoices. The transferring attorney sends an invoice for tax and transfer fees and all the related costs. The bond registration attorney sends invoices for bond registration and all these things that they are seeing for the first time. And you can imagine the shock. And so they want to
yes.
get off the transaction, but you cannot cancel an agreement of sale of land or property if you've signed it. And so that's what
Mm,
is if you sign that contract, it doesn't matter whether you understand what it's saying or not. Why did you sign it? Because you signing it means you understand. But I think it's not right, and I think it's not fair for the buyer. And because of that, there's many other stories that I will not even,
Yeah.
sharing with you, of buyers who were so heartbroken by the process. And what I don't like about this is that it paints South Africa in a bad light. I think first of
Yes.
all, yes, we must accept that there is a responsibility on the side of
Mm-hmm.
the person investing. When you are buying property, simple as it sounds, you are making an investment, so
Mm-hmm.
you need to first be diligent about the money that you're putting out. You should never pay anyone unless you understand what you are paying for. So you should never sign anything unless you understand what you are signing. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is basically my philosophy. And when I saw that there was a common trend with all these buyers that were, in a compromised position, they signed what they didn't understand. And as
Mm-hmm.
much as the realtor, some of these agreements we review, because now we heavily review agreements and we make changes. Even now, before jumping on this,
Mm,
just reviewed one now, and we make
mm,
changes, we remove certain clauses that are detrimental to the buyer, simply because the agreement is drafted by the seller's attorneys,
yes.
the ones who
Yep.
transfer the property, or the ones who are recommended by the realtor, who is the hands and feet of the seller. The realtor is
Mm-hmm.
representing the seller. And so, what is your protection as a buyer who's putting in a lot of money to buy this property? And that's where the buyer's due diligence comes in. That's where the buyer's mandate, representing the buyer from start to finish, when they are
Mm,
property. And so for me, we started with reviewing contracts for buyers, but we realized they still didn't know what to do. So we would review the contract, remove certain, clauses, and show them, okay, this is what you can add because you're buying using financing. And we would connect them with our mortgage originator, who would get them pre-approved, because I believe there's no point in tying yourself to an agreement if you don't even know you qualify. So what we would say is, let's get you pre-assessed, and then pre-qualified. And if you qualify, then you can continue to make the offer. But then we will have done the contract review, remove anything that's not in your favor, and add whatever protections that you need as the buyer.
mm-hmm.
So started doing that, and we realized that clients kept on asking us, for more things. Okay, how do I open a bank account? How do I?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the States. How do I view the property? We have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people who buy property. They do virtual viewings, which is a thing, and it's okay to do that, provided you are diligent. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
buy that you've never viewed, and you do not take further steps to ensure that the property is in fact in the condition that you think it's in. So part of our
Mm,
buyer mandate, where we represent buyers, is we will help them with the search of the property, going to view it on their behalf, sending them videos. But further to that, we also recommend that they appoint an inspection company that's going
mm-hmm.
to look at the property, look for latent defects, so the serious mistakes that are hidden, that ordinarily you wouldn't see when you are viewing the property. And we also will add clauses in the contract that will give them protection. What happens if there is a crack behind this this bed that is sitting here, you didn't see? What happens if the geyser is leaking? What happens if the switches are not working and things like that?
Mm,
Remove that liability, because it's got financial implications. We
yep.
have this law of buyers who actually, they bought this property. It was a commercial property. They were going to use it as a guest lodge,
Mm,
and they bought it. They signed everything, and when it was time for the transfer to happen, everything went smoothly. In fact, the seller wanted it to be transferred as soon as possible, and then the rainy season came about, and it literally was damaged beyond, I don't know.
oh.
The cost to fix this was like 500,000, the roof. And the seller, because they had just bought this property and they didn't do, the necessary checks, the due diligence,
Mm-hmm.
they wanted the seller to be responsible for fixing, for giving this 500,000 rents. And the seller's
Mm,
like, no, it's in your name now, it's your problem.
mm-hmm.
Technically true, but it depends. How was the deal done? And you
Mm,
The whole point of the due diligence is to prevent a situation where you're now going to the seller, you're doubting whether or not they knew. So the law says that if the seller knows about certain defects, the latent defects, so it's those serious problems in the property, not just like a door handle that's broken, but things that are going to cost you $500,000 to fix. If the seller knows about those defects, and also patent defects, like the obvious one, the law says they must disclose to the buyer before they sell the
Mm.
property.
Yes.
But but the law also says they can disclose what they know. So how are you gonna
Mm.
prove that they knew about the
Yes.
defects? You're not in their mind. And so there
Mm-mm.
are certain things that you do, and you protect yourself with the wording in the contract before you sign it. But unfortunately, with this case, they obviously had not done the due diligence. They had not met us
Mm.
before. And
Mm.
and what ended up happening, fortunately for them, they succeeded because the seller said, I didn't know there was a leak in the roof. And what we normally tell clients in that situation, even if clients came to us, we're not going to say, oh, sorry, we can't help you. There are certain things we can look at, like get an inspector to go and look at the property, maybe look for signs that there was some, fixing happening here. So fortunately for that case, the buyer actually could prove that the seller tried to fix the roof because there were patches that were found.
Mm.
Therefore, you obviously know that there's a problem. Otherwise, why would you have?
Correct.
But in that case, if they didn't find the proof that the seller tried to fix it, so what if it's a non-diligent seller who didn't even try to fix anything? Then it's your loss as the buyer, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
Mm.
So it's a lot of the things that you can easily not find yourself stressed by as a buyer, because buying property is complicated, it's nerve-wracking, and it triggers a lot of anxiety because it's a different legal system. You don't understand. The process
Mm-hmm.
can take up to 3 months to have the property transferred. So how we help our clients with the buyer mandate under Skyline Attorney Realtors is basically a hand-holding exercise from the time we're searching for your property. And the value that you get there is the fact that when we do that, we can recommend certain measures that are going to help protect you, like the inspection. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
do it, but I don't feel comfortable working with clients who don't actually do that, because I'm not
Mm-hmm.
an inspector. How will we know? And it's always good when we find problems. For us, we don't depend on you signing the offer to earn a living or to continue to run as a business. And that is
Mm-hmm.
where I think the danger is with realtors, is if the realtor is so desperate to get you to sign the contract, because if you don't sign, they're not going to get paid. That's a problem. You are also
Mm-hmm.
gambling money. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we remove that situation and we focus on the buyer is investing in a service that's going to help them to find the property, do the due diligence. Property lawyers are conducting the due diligence. Within that representation of the buyer, we also register a company for you, because we rope in a tax expert to tell you about the different types of taxes that you can, you can anticipate even in future when you are selling, withholding tax, how
Mm.
you use funds, the repatriation of funds, what will prevent you from moving the funds if you fail to do certain things now when you're introducing. It's a very intensive exercise that we do, but the nice
Mm.
thing, you don't have to think about those things yourself, because we handle them for you and we explain everything throughout the process. So the search, finding the property, negotiating for you. We even have successfully negotiated for clients where they ended up paying less than what the asking price was. So basically
Mm.
representing legally and otherwise. And then
Mm-hmm.
up until the point where the seller will appoint attorneys to transfer, we also, when you work with us comprehensively, we would be copied in those correspondence, because we're holding them accountable, so they don't end up just making the seller happy and ignoring you as the buyer. Because once your money is in their trust account, a lot of things can go wrong. And we've had
Mm.
clients signed reservation agreements, which we strongly are against. When you are buying property, rather focus on signing the offer to purchase. Yes, a reservation agreement is a thing that you can use to reserve, and they always will use fear. And I like to say to clients, even clients that are dealing with us, slow down. When you are
Mm.
buying property, take your time and understand what you are doing, because anything that you are rushed into can lead to a lot of mistakes and problems. So
Yep.
slow down, make sure you understand. If that property, is off the market, you'll get another one. There's a lot of properties that you can buy, but you will not get your money back if you make costly mistakes. And you've already signed, because now you've created a binding agreement. So yeah, that
Mm.
is how we help clients from start to finish. So from the time they're searching until they take ownership of the property, we can be involved in that entire process, and we do that under Skyline Attorney Realtors, in collaboration with the property lawyers at LC Attorneys.
I love that because I mean it's comprehensive. And
Yeah.
ultimately, like you said and I've said as well, that's even something along the lines of what we're used to here. And so at the end of the day, as a buyer, I don't know all the laws here in the States pertaining to properties and legalities and taxes and things like that, but my realtor does. And so we flow through that process. And then there's
Mhm.
also checks and balances accordingly. However, I love two things, right? One of them is that the way you all have packaged what you do, it's in a business mindset, even as
Mhm.
you invest in property and buy property for tax purposes, for
Mhm.
future purposes, legacy, and all of that. And I love
Mhm.
that because that's a totally different mindset for some, even as
Mhm.
we acquire property in the States. Here, we'll buy property, sell property, just because we make a move or we want to upsize or you name it. However, there are others that have businesses that structure it that way for whether it's protection reasons, tax reasons, or even trust reasons. And I think
Mhm.
what you all provide through consultations and conversations will allow
Mhm.
for the buyers to be able to make the best decision for them going forward. And so I
Yeah.
even love that for them as they reach out and speak to you. Now, to that, what areas do you represent buyers when they are acquiring, buying, or investing into properties? Is it strictly in Cape Town where you are, or do you reach across South Africa, the country?
The whole South Africa, any
Okay.
province in South Africa, Gauteng, Johannesburg, Pretoria, any area, Cape
Okay.
Town, Durban, and those are the major cities. And we are working also with our correspondents outside South Africa. We have clients
Okay.
currently who are investing in Tanzania, in Zanzibar,
Mm,
and also Mauritius. We're tapping into those markets. So essentially, we structure our services to support our clients wherever they need to invest, currently providing for all provinces within South Africa. So if you're buying property anywhere in South Africa, our services will definitely help you buy
mm.
with the utmost due diligence that you need to actually be thinking about as the buyer, so that you don't find yourself in those compromising situations.
I love that. So hearing that, you stretch everywhere. I got nervous, right? Because with that, I'm thinking, oh man, I'm gonna have to fly her out to Durban or Johannesburg or Tanzania or wherever, whatnot. But is it that I'm flying you out to go look at these places, or you have a team that is
Team.
located in these? Okay, good. Woo! That saved a
So
lot of
we have
people right there.
Listen, there's a property tour happening right now as you and I speak,
Okay.
in Johannesburg, and the
Mm,
Americans that are doing that tour actually arrived. They arrived today, I think, and our
okay.
team members are with them now. I was on a call and they were
Mm,
telling me going for dinner. They viewed 5 properties already. They're gonna be going to Durban, and then they come into Cape Town. They're gonna be meeting with me. So I don't
oh,
even
nice.
yes, I don't intimately get involved in all transactions.
Mm,
When you want sort of like a service that is within your reach, within your budget, we have
mm,
our team members that are trained to apply our prestige framework and do everything. It's the same process that we apply for all our clients. So whenever you want to work with me directly, personally, yeah, there is definitely going to be financial implications. It is an
okay.
investment.
Yes.
But essentially, I'm not the only one. We have quite a number of people within our team, and it
Mm,
would definitely make sense. When you reach out to say, where are you interested in, and the date, so that we can coordinate with the team members. But yeah, they're busy doing that now. I think they're done with the viewings now. They're having dinner in
mm-hmm.
Johannesburg. I'm in Cape Town. So yeah,
Yes.
it's the beauty of having a team where Eulenda is not everything in the business. I connect them to these people that we help, and they
Mm-hmm.
continue to apply the framework that I've created.
I love it. And even speaking to the fact that we're virtually speaking together, I'm sure things could flow just that way as well for other clients and other team members. Now, to get into, before we wrap it up, but to get into for those that already have purchased homes in South Africa, and maybe they're
Mhm.
having some troubles with certain things, because I've had friends to have some hiccups
Mhm.
in the current home
Yes.
that they find themselves in. Obviously, I'm hearing that you will be a solution for them if they were to seek legal representation or legal aid in that respect.
Mm.
However, for those that are looking to potentially sell their home after they
Mm.
have purchased a home in SA, are you and do you help with sellers as well?
Absolutely. We have
Okay.
listings. We have
Okay.
listings, and we would be in a position to help them, because remember, buyers come to us when they are buying property. So
Mm,
we are a real estate agency. What we do, however, to avoid conflict of interest is, where we are representing the seller, maybe we've listed their property. What we will do is, we will find a buyer for them that is not a buyer on the buyer's due diligence service that we provide. And we've been
mm,
able to do that. Even now, if you look on our Skyline website, we do have listings that are there. But if we are working with buyers who are looking for properties, we don't look at the properties that we have listed. We look beyond that. So they can literally buy any property, because the service that we are providing is not linked to the property that we have listed, but rather
yes.
what the buyer wants. So yes,
Mm,
do selling, and also helping the buyer with the due diligence, but we predominantly do buyer's due diligence. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. So cool. Check that box. Check that
Yeah.
box. And even
Yeah.
thinking back to our process when we were finding our apartment, we had they had it. Yeah. The apartment even had a listing agent that we worked through and interacted with. And he walked the property, showed us videos and
Mm,
different things of everything that gave us the
mm,
comfort to say, okay, yes, this is the spot, because prior to us moving to it, we had never seen it. And so,
yeah.
just speaking to the fact that those video calls work, being
Yeah.
able to match the videos with the photos and all of that helps. And just
Yeah.
making sure you're even speaking to somebody that you can trust also helps
Yeah.
as well, because those were the things that allow for us to make the move with confidence, knowing that what we signed up for was ultimately going to be once we
Yeah.
arrived. And just having that peace of mind, that hand
Mm,
holding opportunity goes a long way, because
yeah.
making this move is
Absolutely.
big. It's a lot of unknowns. There could be a lot of
Yeah.
fear based off of horror stories that others have
Yep.
shared and that they know. However,
Yeah.
having the proper representation, having one that's for you as the buyer,
Mhm.
having an attorney that knows the laws
Mm,
and up to
yeah.
date with the current laws goes a long way. And I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, if you would do it in the States, why not do it there? And
Yeah.
there being SA or wherever you may find yourself, that they're able to help, because I mean, it's
Mm,
just that peace of mind that is priceless ultimately.
mhm.
And if you can't afford the price, maybe it's not the time to make the move. Like all those
Yep.
things kind of go together and flow together
Absolutely.
at the
Hmm.
same time. And so,
Yeah.
if you were to, my sister, share any last message or word to people that are looking to make the move over to
Mhm.
SA, what would it be? And then also with that on the back end of that message or that solution, please share where they can find you on the various platforms that you already spoke about that you post.
Mhm. Yes. So my advice would be, if you are investing in property, take your time to learn about what you're investing in, and reach out to us so we can help you. I mean, Rick is going to have a link
Mm-hmm.
on this video through which
Mm-hmm.
you can reach out. What we like to do before you even commit to anything is just take you through the process to help you understand. Some people come to us and they say, I found the property. Can you do the due diligence? Here's the contract, or here's the realtor's number. Call them and do the due diligence, which is great. They're still doing a right thing. But do you know that that is step two? Step one,
Mm,
buying property, is actually questioning yourself. Does this make sense financially? Is this a good investment? What is the market analysis? Have you done that? Have you run the numbers on
mm,
you are buying? Have you compared how much the properties that are matching what you like in the area that you like are going
mm-hmm.
for? And that is what we're going to tell you about. And also how much was that property bought for when the seller bought it. We go that
Yes.
deep. And
Yes.
I think that's information we're not shy to give the buyer, because we're saying we help you invest smart and save
Mm-hmm.
your money, on tax, create a legacy with
Yep.
structure, and avoid unnecessary and costly mistakes. So we give you all of that information, and that's step one, where you run the numbers to see if it's a good investment. So that comes with taking your time, because yes, you're gonna see the views. Cape Town is beautiful. You're gonna see the
Yeah.
sea views, the mountains. Johannesburg is beautiful. You're gonna love
Mm-hmm.
the busyness, the hustle and bustle, and
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna love the rand, because you're gonna think, wow, I get this luxury for these dollars. But
Yes.
the one, and so
Mm,
you do not actually make it and end up happy if you do not take your time. Take your time with the right people. So approach us so that we can help you see what it entails before you pay any money. And that happens through that complimentary discovery call, which I said you can actually book through the link that Rick is going to share with you. And
mm-hmm.
then take your time with anything else, even with the visa. You're planning to move here, think about what you want to do, because those are the questions we're going to ask you. What are your plans? Okay, if you say you're going to look for a job, but you say you want a retirement visa, then we're going to be able to say, I think this is not the right type of visa for you. We're going to ask you, do you have children? Okay, then they're going to also need a visa, and explore the options of what's possible and what the requirements are. And the same is true for business as well. If you want to set up a business, like we had a client who owned a vegan restaurant in the States, and he
Mm,
wanted over to Johannesburg. And also we had to look into the licensing to run that kind of a restaurant, look into him either buying property or signing a lease for such an exercise. And taking your time means that you have time to do the due diligence, and that is my number one advice all the time. And yeah, people can reach out to me. I'm not going to give my email address because you're going to share the link,
okay.
but on
Okay.
Instagram, they can reach me. My name is Eulenda.luxuryhomes.and the law. And then yeah, that's where they can reach me. I'm also, I think, on TikTok through the same name. uh,
Okay. Okay.
and then yeah, I'm also on Facebook, Eulenda Livisi Cousins. It's
Mm,
Eulenda, Livisi Cousins, Lebese hyphen Cousins Cussons. Yeah.
I love it and like it. I've come to your Instagram and seen the videos you've done, which y'all do an awesome job doing the podcast and the videos. Like the whole setup and the whole situation is amazing, beautifully
Thank
done. And so,
thank
shouts out to the team for that. Like that, that's some great work that you all put out. So know that it's noticed and is at a high caliber. And I think that also speaks to the level of due diligence that you do for your clients and the work that we could look to receive when going through you. And I know if
you.
I was to do this all over again, having somewhere someone that I can ask all these questions to and be able to get from point A to point Z or T or whatever letters left when I'm in my space, comfortable, satisfied, and excited that I'm where I need to be. But then there's also a plan for if I go to somewhere else or if I make another move or if I sell where I am. Everything is vetted, thought of, and prepared for because I work
Yeah,
through one space, one
yeah.
person, one team that has multiple branches. And so,
Mhm.
to the point that you've made, we are now partners, right? And so,
Yes.
I definitely don't intend on, which we share in other videos, just putting anybody on the channel because
Mhm.
ultimately, we're also saying that if we say this person is somebody, or this company,
Mm.
or you name it, is worth going through, it's putting our name on it. And so at
Mm.
the end of the day, we've had multiple conversations. We've talked.
Yeah.
I've done my due diligence, and I realized that she has an awesome product and awesome services that are useful for people that are asking me these type questions. And so I
Yeah.
was able to, or excuse me, ask some of the questions that I get often in my messages or DMs and whatnot. However, I know, as she already shared, upon clicking the link, you'll be able to get the service that you need based off of the questions that you have. And so partner with me and partnering with them, knowing that you will be taken care of precisely. And I would even say the South African way, which is properly, because I learned
Yeah.
that while living there. Like, we don't really use the word properly the way you all do, which I love it. Like, proper. Everything is like proper. And it's like, man, it definitely feels better. And so, all that to say, like, fun times, good times, and definitely put
Yeah.
any questions that you all have had or may not have been able to answer on this video in the comment section. And it may drive us to do a part two if we can't answer the question in the comment section. So, all that to be said, I thank you, my sister, Eulenda. Eulenda.
Yes. Yes,
How do you
Eulenda.
say it? Eulenda.
Eulenda.
Whew. I told her before this video I was nervous about saying her name because I don't know. I just second
You
guess
said it
myself.
perfectly. You said it perfectly,
Thank
Ricky.
you, Yolanda. I appreciate it. And I'm excited, thankful for this time. She's even on holiday right now. So even in her time of relaxation, R&R, she did this video with us and for us. So again, we thank you. We appreciate you. People will be reaching out to you, and they will be thankful that they came in contact with this video. So with that being said, I appreciate you. I thank you. And until next time, great people, I'll see you in the next
Thank you
video.
so much.
Yes,
Bye.
ma'am. Peace. Yes.